So let's talk about waxes. Dubbing wax, regular wax, but we're mainly going to focus on regular Tyers wax. So first up, we have this dubbing wax. Dubbing wax is exactly what it sounds like. You would put it on your thread and it will make it easier to apply the dubbing. But it doesn't just make it easier to apply the dubbing. This will actually seal the dubbing onto the thread after it has time to cure and harden. A lot of people struggle with ice dub or seal's fur or any type of really slick dubbing. So that's what you would use it for, or if you're putting dubbing on a mono thread, which can be hard to do. The main focus of today's video is going to be talking about these waxes, Tyers wax. So we have four kinds here. We have the Keen's wax, we have the Cobblers, we have 721 and 722 wax here. Now the 722 is usually called winter's wax, and that's because a lot of times Tyers will use that in the winter time because it's much softer, and when it gets cold it's still easy to use, versus if your 721 wax gets really cold it can take a little bit longer to heat up, but it's still going to have the same function once you bring it to temperature. So James Leisenring used Keen wax. This was going to be his primary wax for tying flims. You break a piece of it off, rub it in your hands, rub it between your fingers, or some people actually put it on their hand to keep it warm, and then you would rub it along your silk thread, put your dubbing on, spin it up, and then once this hardens, this is going to lock everything in, and it's almost like a glue once it hardens. This was designed by L. Harrington Keen many years ago, and it is still used to this very day. And this brand is Fly Wax by Joseph Smith. So coming back to the 722 wax, this wax is very soft. So what I do sometimes, if it's too warm in here and I want to use a softer wax, I'll toss this in the freezer for a few minutes and it's good to go. Now we're going to talk about the 721 wax. This is going to be the primary wax that I use on every fly. Like I said, I do use the other waxes, especially if I'm looking to really get something tacky. I will break this off. I have a little ball of it sitting here. Whenever I'm ready, I run it through my thread. So the primary use for the wax is going to be sealing the fly. It's going to make your flies more durable. Before you start your thread, rub your thread through the wax and take 2 wraps on the shank, and you'll notice that it's not just going to fall off. It'll hold it there. The wax, it literally acts as a glue, especially once it cures and hardens. And by cure and harden, I mean it sets. So the friction from running it through your thread actually makes the wax a little bit wet, and as you're tying with it, it dries and it cures. Then when you get up to the head of the fly, I put the same thing on, and sometimes I'll put a nice glob of it on there. I'll get it really waxed up, and then I'll hold my fibers back, hit it with a lighter, and it'll actually melt instantly and make a nice shiny head. So now let's talk about the Cobbler's wax. Now, Cobbler's wax is a little bit tackier than the 721. It's not nearly as tacky as the 722. The primary use for Cobblers is going to be classic salmon flies, wet flies, things like that, and a lot of the old spiders would use this. If you would take this and put it on like a primrose thread, it's going to make the perfect color for a Greenwell Glory. If you get enough on your thread, it will change the color tremendously on your heads. Now some people actually warm their bodkin up, rub it in the wax, put it on your head, and you have a nice sealed head. That's what you see on those rubbery looking head on some of the old salmon flies. That's what it is. It's Cobbler's wax. So I hope that this did explain a little bit of the difference, because I get the question all the time, hey, what's the difference between Tyers wax and dubbing wax? Well, that is the difference. One is for tying and one is for dubbing. Not to say that you can't use dubbing wax for your tying, but it's different, okay? If you try to put the dubbing wax on the thread and put it on the shank, sometimes it can make it slicker at first, but then once it dries, it'll hold everything. But this is the way to go. We do have this on the website. If you go to the website and I end up selling out of it, there's plenty of places you can find fly wax. So yeah, appreciate you guys for being here, and I will catch you on the fly.